All right, everybody, we're going to do an upper extremity quiz with Sarah since the feedback was so good. However, I did want to do a quick demonstration that I discovered a long time ago, at least what, 10 minutes? We're playing around with it. So one of the reasons I gave you this one is these kind of little simultaneous canceling out motions happens like when you're doing push-ups or when you're doing certain things where your hands can't go anywhere, but yet your shoulders are still rotating and stuff. So even though this doesn't seem like a natural motion, when you're rotating your shoulders and your elbows when you're pushing on things, and so it is kind of a natural movement that we could do functionally. But I wanted to show you kind of what it would look like with just the bones here, okay? So I know that this is a supinated position, unwrapped, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set it so that you could see how it's unwrapped, the radius and the ulna unwrapped. And then what I'm going to do is, you see how the humerus and the ulna is kind of wrapping and unwrapping about the fixed radius here. You see how they're both moving together? Because it has to. If the humerus moved by itself, it would literally rip apart from the ulna. So because it's connected to the ulna, the humerus and the ulna are kind of taking an orbit around the radius. That makes sense? Cool. And remember, yeah, we don't have x-ray vision, but we have landmarks. We have landmarks, local references that we can use to kind of check where am I at? To Sarah's point, A, B, C, where am I at? Oh, how did that happen? Okay. All right, Sarah, I'm going to let you take it over. Your super popular quizzes.
It's the second. See, you gotta join my quiz up, and then this is the code. Ready to see it?
I'm gonna move I don't know why I can't get it up there, so I'll just kind of rotate this over and show on the screen comme ça. Okay, so for those of you, join myquiz.com and the number is 999. Give me,
Oh, sorry.
oh, you're good. 9350 6580. So the inner join code 9350 6580. 8675309. Try this side. Maybe this will be a little clearer. All right. So just like on Wednesday, they'll have 10 minutes open.
It's 14 questions.
14 questions, so about 15 minutes. 15 minutes. So get after it, or you said it when to start, right?
Right, so is everybody in here? Yes. Oh, there you go, start whenever. Sorry, my bad.
Just figure the faster we start, the faster we finish, the faster we can get to discussion. So How do we do it? I think, you would pull up when we were going over it, it would pull up, you would put it on the screen, right? But they have access to it on their devices, right? So I'm gonna speak to the people watching this. You guys have access to the quiz and you can restart it, right? Like after you do it. So when we go over the quiz, when Sarah's going over the quiz, I'm gonna pull the computer to the screen, but it's probably easiest if you just pull it up on your device to see the pictures before and after. So, yoink.
One more minute, okay?
Does anybody need more time? We're good? Let's do it. What else are more powerful? Using this front. Confident in lower extremity with pelvis or like upper extremity with scapula or the ulnar upper. It's equally, you're feeling more confident with the upper. Also. So it's really the pelvis stuff that's kind of funky. So what we can do is we can, if we roll through these with more confidence and there's not as many questions, so we could always segue the into some more pelvic questions.
A little bit of a glare here. But the idea that it has the dumbbell, he's allowing it to go down. So our finished position is just from here to here. So that would be the left lateral, I think. I think we shrunk, like you said, a little bit, and based off the results, we did better than the lower body. So y'all just stop me if I'm explaining too fast, okay? Okay. Avoid that glare. Okay, so this one says, as the head of the hammer, the top of it goes to her left, this way. What are you observing at the radial? I'm not answering. Okay, I like that. And so she starts in what position then? From my shoes.
And another way, again, it's two different forms of the same thing. Sarah could have said you start at one and you finish at two. You know, it's
Kind
the
of wanted
same
to do
question.
it some types of like A to B,
Yeah,
finish to start,
yeah.
some stuff like that.
It's all different forms of asking the same. Sort of.
This one, the weight is behind her, so she's having to, if she was to start in a neutral position and then lift that weight behind her, she would be ulna deviated. She has ulna deviation here, and now if it was to be the opposite way, start here, pull it, the weight back towards her, radial. It's kind of like that waving. That's how I see ulna radial. Closer to pinky. Closer to the thumb and radius.
Side, thumb side.
Okay, so this one's a position of the cervical, and because he's gonna be staring at the picture the entire time, it's kind of like you might not assume that anything happened at the cervical, but we notice that that chin is lined up with the shoulder, so we know that it's not anatomical, right? Pretty sure this is the left.
Yep.
Yeah. So left transverse rotation.
Remember, where are you at? Where is the joint at? It's relative to anatomy.
So again, I gave you the picture this time and gave you motion. So if he starts in the lateral raise up here, and then the question says, imagine the dumbbells go down, going back home through shoulder adduction. Started abducted, go to home from adduction.
What's the hardest part about tab and add?
The
absolutely. I wish it was George and Philip. It's something that didn't sound the norm, so simple. What's that? Oh, yeah, it was Steve. Yeah.
Also, because this position could also be, like, so when I said the dumbbells are going down, not he's bringing it
There you go.
closer in towards his chest, right? This would be horizontal adduction.
And in good faith of the exercise, there would be no reason to do this
Right.
in that exercise. Yeah, maybe some people, are Fred's, but sorry, I don't want to say the name. Fred's. Why don't you Fred's?
This is a stretch. So if I was to take my arm, pull it this way, just see that motion? It's almost like if I'm going this way. So this shoulder adducted horizontally. Horizontal adduction.
And the scapula would be.
What would be most like, that's a great follow-up. Most likely, her left scapula would do what?
Retraction.
Give that some thought.
Give us a protraction.
There you go. There you go. And I think that's a
Feel
great.
that, you feel it.
Yeah.
That's a great example. That sometimes, guys, that's why we have to practice this, because sometimes our brains will tell us what it is, but pro, re, ab, right? Sometimes my dad calls me by my brother's name. It's not that he doesn't know who I am.
So for this start and finish, it's the clue of the scapula is doing something because of shoulder motions. We're talking in the world of downward and
How would they work together?
How would they work together? So if we start at the top and we pull down at the bottom, I think of it like this. I think of my hand and I think of the fact that they started up here and they're gonna be kind of like touching at the bottom, so they have downward rotation. If you were to put your hand on somebody's scalp, they just feel them do this. So then going back up like that.
Remember, we're not disrespecting depression, because that's going to happen too. But when I ask you elevation for the context of this class, when I ask you elevation and depression, it's going to be its own thing, because I don't have to move my shoulders to elevate the breast. When we do the upward and downward rotation, it's going to involve some kind of context with the shoulders going up and down.
And that's like the shrugs. How people say this is shoulder,
Mhm.
the shoulders ain't doing anything here. It's all together. I mean, they're going along with it, right? But what is it?
It's coming, that question's coming. And I've already promised, if everybody gets it right, if the whole class follows me. Fair enough. On the test, I'm always going to try to act left to right, just because that's what our brains are used to. But remember, this is just practice. Right?
This is
practice.
simply,
Don't
just make you nervous.
assume.
That's perfect. Two. Right. A lot of people, though, whenever we did like review sessions, they do A to B and then B to A. So this was kind of me asking you more so about.
Yes. And this will just take a couple seconds. When you're talking about fitness and exercises, they'll talk about the exercise as a movement, singular. But in reality, there's two movements, right? You got to go and you got to move back. In order to go again, you got to move back. So I like to try to break it down into each separate section of movements. So it's always good. It's always good to go there, and then it's always good to go back so that you can go there again.
So this one we're starting, and then we're having to go back. With your words, we're having to go back to that starting position. So we're starting back here. And if somebody was to have their hands on my shoulders, my scap, they would feel this type of feeling, like I'm really retracted back here. And then I allow protraction. And also at the shoulders, if I was to say, hey, elbows, I don't care what you're doing, I'm extended back here at my shoulders, and I allow the flexion. I have that like crease at the end of that.
Think about the force. It kind of plays into the exercise with Sarah's lateral raise one. Like the force is an up and down force when you have dumbbells, right? This force is more, right? So that retraction is really going to be emphasized to get that bar closer to your chest or across. It's not up and down kind of.
Right. So if, without even like seeing the motion, just the starting position, you can tell how the band is pulling, what direction the band is pulling in, okay? So starting here, internally rotated, and then I allow external rotation to get me in this like, it's like a neutral camber kind of area, but it's just external rotation to here, and I can also have an external rotation from there. So, motion.
Can we explain why that's not horizontal abduction?
Yeah. It's not. So, horizontal abduction here, internal and external, just like the balls moving.
Horizontal abduction is a shoulder motion, right? Okay, it has nothing to do with how my forearm moves. So it's not about my forearm going across, it's about my shoulder going. So I can have the same motion here and here. This is the same thing at my shoulder. Does that make sense?
They have a little bit too.
Yeah, oh, good. But if you do this measure, you can feel how the balls move.
Yeah.
If somebody was to hold, right. Exactly, that's the shock. The ball.
What I love about that question though is it's no, if I say it's no different, but it's similar to why someone may say, well, why isn't this ab an adduction?
Yeah.
Shoulder more.
Because it's my elbow. So why is this horizontal AB and AD? Because this is not what's happening at my shoulder.
Same thing with hip. So just go ahead and get that compared. This would be internal, external. This would be horizontal ab and ad. And it feels different, just like it feels different at the shoulder.
Great question.
Very good. Okay. I know y'all did this one in class. It's fun. So as up in the upright row, what happens in a radio moment? Let's start with starting position. And I'm going to come up, and this is my ending position. Had to have supination, see pronatus.
That makes me sense. Try to explain this.
Oh, thanks. Thanks. Excellent sense. Why people less? Look, whatever works, all good. Do it again. Do what makes more sense again. So I can learn.
Elbows doing.
That's right. That's right. That's right. My one caveat there though, guys, remember, don't do something that you don't think you're doing. So like, let me use this example. Palms down, so when you come down, you'll actually pronate to make up. So just making sure that when you freeze it, don't move anything while you're further back.
So that was for supination for the radio ulna. As I go up, what happens at my, I think I said scap, is that what I asked for? Scap, what happens at the scap knee? Yeah.
Who uses the thumb rule? Thumb rule?
Oh, because your shoulders.
Does this help to see the upward station? Like if I start down here and I maybe like that. Any questions on that one?
Sarah, go back to your,
There.
to this one. It's like where you freeze it. So for the thumb rulers, right? Lateral, outside.
And also
Yep.
in line with that. Also, well, I have to turn my elbows, but it's not here. That's it had to have supination. You need that lamp. Sounds good. Okay, so what motion occurs at the scap to ensure his chin gets over the top of the bar of the bullet? I think I said that better, but this was a multiple select because there's two things that can happen, right? There's one motion that goes along with that shoulder motion that you're having, and then one that's like, I need to get my chin into that part. So there's two that you could have put, if you just put one, I mean, you're not getting graded on this, so you can just go back and understand it. But again, up here to down here, my scaps do this. So what is that? Downward rotation. And then also, if I started at my scalps up here, and then I'm really digging my shoulders as far to the ground as they can, doing what? The pressure of my ass.
You can see.
Okay. Yeah, and just one picture asking position. I think I said trunk and elbow.
You had extension and you had extended on there too.
Yeah, so this was just kind of recalling from test one that if it's just one picture, we're asking position, ED, motion, island.
Yeah,
So-
and I can see how it's tricky, but with only one picture, how do you know how it's moving?
And with no context.
Yeah. If we don't have enough information, say that she's moving, more than likely she's not, if you're holding this position.
Do it.
So you don't know her next.
That's
Yeah,
that's right. She could be unpredictable.
So to me, the elbows are pretty straight. So I would say that the position of the elbows are extended. And then the trunk, it's almost like going backwards like this in this picture. So that would be trunk extended as well.
And I've said it several times, Sarah's probably said it as well, just because the elbows are extended and anatomical doesn't mean all the other things are
Extended.
right. It's just that the elbows, the knees, there's a couple, but that's why we could say they're extended and they're an anatomical, because that's the end of their rope. Can't go any further.
True or false, the wrist is like that. The wrist is like that up there. We can have extension, we can have flexion.
If we were to analyze the shoulders in that picture,
Yeah.
what
Analyze it.
Do it. Let me flex.
Yes.
Okay.
Analyze. And you see the illusion is because we always want to look at that elbow. Just because the elbow is extended doesn't mean something else can't be flexed.
Right.
Or just because the hand's going behind
Yeah.
her,
Yeah, that's a good point too.
her head, you know what I mean? That's the position.
Like a global, globally, it looks like it's behind.
No, because it means extended though. So
Yeah.
it's going like as much this
Yeah.
way as she could,
Yeah.
so this direction.
Good.
Okay, as he lowers his body to the floor, what motion occurred at the elbow, shoulder, scap? A lot to analyze this one, so let's break it down. Let's do elbow first.
Flex.
Flexion, nice. Shoulders next. Shoulders next. Extension, because it doesn't matter what the elbows are doing if we're asking about shoulder now. So if we were to put ourselves in this position and say, okay, elbow, I don't care what you're doing, I'm gonna extend you. This is the position of the shoulders. And then scap. Started. Probably could have made it some multiple select, but something obvious is happening. And depression is going like this, like upward and down, up and down, not upward and downward. I'm going up and down. So I started my shoulders as like straight posture, like I'm pushing my shoulders down. So I'm starting depressed. And then
The picture on the right is the
right, that's kind of what I wanted you to say. This is the obvious motion.
it's like a first round.
So the answer was flexion, extension, elevation.
You say the rotation of that?
When we go back like that, you're all the way down. What your scapula will do is something called tilt, which is kind of a combinational motion here. So you can't really, yeah, you're not gonna come down, up. So your scapula is gonna do what we call a tilt action, where it's gonna kind of do like so it's not gonna come back
I
down.
think if you were to like do position, you wouldn't feel this motion.
Yes, that's a very Sarah way to make it
Yeah.
make sense.
That's how I would make it feel with this.
Would it be fair to say it's retracting too though?
Yes, we can say, well, tilt is this combinational motion that I'm not holding you accountable for. I'm just kind of answering that question. Yes, absolutely. You would have this kind of combination of elevation and retraction that's kind of making the scapula be like forwarding, kind of falling back.
Yeah, I feel that's.
But I think that the Sarah's question though is fair because we're looking at the up and down, right? So the up and the down primarily is gonna kind of contribute with the elevation and depression. That's just-
This is the last one. He has the weight stack and he's like this, and then he moves this way. Is this what plane are we moving in? Transverse. Transverse, and we already know it's gonna be a transverse rotation. So which way, now left and right transverse are we moving?
Left.
Left, what about cervical? So it's moving, the trunk is moving with the cervix. So this is when the trunk didn't have the movement. If we would have,
This is where the cervical went.
sorry,
Oh, yeah.
sorry,
Yeah,
because the trunk moved.
sometimes we do this on purpose, just to see if you guys know.
But if he was to the first position and just move his neck, the cervical left and right,
You never do the exercise.
but if the sternum and shin is what we,
Mhm.
yeah, marks, they move together,
Or nose.
or nose, what have you. Very good. I would,
Good job. And this is why we don't say, look to the left, it has to be you. You look to the left, and it didn't have to be his neck.
y'all did really good on this one, so I feel like y'all feel more confident in upper body, is that fair to say? Or the hips dressing y'all up?
It's like they do.
Hips.
Yeah.
Hips.
Let's do some more practice, okay? Start, finish. Start, finish.
What do we got?
What do you see? Open ended. What do you see?
Your left is going to add up.
Okay,
So
the left hip, adduction, good. Right hip, abduction, and then what do my pelvis do? Right. Lateral rotated how? To the right, to the left? To its right, to its left. To right. Remember, it's not about the translation. It's about the rotation. It's about the spin. So right lateral, because of left hip add, right hip add. Okay, Sarah, you're.
Can we analyze trunk?
Yes.
So,
I tried not to, well, stop right. Did my trunk bend to the right?
No.
I tried not to. So again, we don't say, if I see global reference, if I would have bent, think about it like this, if I'd have bent to my right, I'd be reaching down to grab something. And if I'd have bent to the left, I'd have been canceling out what was trying to make me tilt this way. You're up. Open it, see something, identify something.
It is my left. Okay, cool. Fair enough. I'll break it down. Gotta have this better. Yeah, get into it. I'm gonna face this way and do it, so we all do it the same way.
And what I'll do, the
No.
camera wasn't facing me. Keep going. So the first question I gave was this. So right lateral, left hip add, right hip add.
Yeah, I want people to think, because that.
He's ready to answer. It's like I got my answer locked in.
I didn't see
Okay,
that.
are we going right now?
You're right to make answers. Well, it's not a bit of 10 pound, it's a pound. So it's different, maybe. And now it's a piece of paper. It's like, so it is. But yeah, this and it's going to be. And what started, that's not, right, it's like. Because I'm going to have a so nice.
Start with.
I'll make sure that I'm just saying, I'm this way, right hip. So when anyone guess out loud, perfect. External. Left hip. This is like one of like the aspects. This is you have one out. One you're having offset the other because the next 100 feet.
It is tricky, but but we try to put in why it's tricky.
Right.
It's tricky because you've only been taught the part that usually moves. Left goes lateral, we say external, but when the socket goes lateral, it's internal.
Which is the left. Yeah. Internal. So now, knowing what the hips are doing, what did the pelvis have? Left transverse, right? My left is this way, we're doing it this way.
Makes sense? So this, and we've had precedent. Here to there is actually the same as here to there. I get to the same place.
If you look at us,
Here to there is actually the same as here to there. I get to the same place. Our brains, though, want to pattern recognize. We want to say anything that swings this way, anything that swings that way. But bones can move in opposition to get to the same place. They have to. If the bottle and the Coke both move together in the same way, you'd never drink it. They have to move in opposition.
Can you say we're talking at the
At the sub-tailor,
is something that you would be?
nothing of significance. You'll probably have some inversion, eversion happens there, but on the test, I would only ask inversion, eversion questions like super duper problems.
yeah, I would say like depends on how hard that person just spun, right? Because if I like feel go like this, look at my subtalar, but I could also just.
And that sub-tailor, nothing to ask.
Okay.
Right.
Can we jump into subtalar real quick? I like lunges to see subtalar. So like going like this,
Yeah.
or doing a curtsy lunge, like that's how like.
That's excellent.
Like you're very
10
like
sets of
of
cursive.
that, you know what I mean? And if you want me to tell you, inversion, eversion, eversion. Does that make sense? So like I would kind of like run through saying that and how I'm looking at how they looked. Does that make sense?
I'm up. Here we go. Start. My pelvis is looking at the ground. Finish.
Go.
Now I'm looking at the camera. Start. Finish. Start. I'm also going to ask you specifically what to identify. Can you tell me what's happening potentially? That doesn't mean there is motion. Just analyze. Right hip, left hip, pelvis. Right hip, left hip, pelvis. And for knowledge and giggles, we could do trunk, we could do cervical.
This is right. So balance.
Oh, Lord.
That was the first, but y'all were looking at me doing that.
I'm on my right, you guys. I'm on my right leg. What are you going to be for Halloween? Sore? See, school can be fun. Art can be fun. Some rules that says it can't be fun. 7:30 in the morning. Just change that back or it's or stuff. Oh, coffee shop, black lab. What's a cup of coffee now and the driver? It's
Yes, it's right, it's the old.
I want to express latte. Yeah. Give it a little loud of it. All right, let me give y'all some hints. Give y'all some hints. It may confirm your answer, may change your answer. Internal, external, internal, external, internal, external, internal, external, internal, external, internal. This is internal and external rotation, right? From the long bone's perspective. If I'm here, this is the same position as this. So again, internal and external. So if I were to internally and externally rotate my hip when my foot is on the ground, I'm actually swinging like a darn helicopter. Does that make sense? Give that some thought. Does that confirm or does that change your conversation? From here to there is the same as from here to there.
And if you don't say that, you can pop on the other leg, right? You can get into that and then
There you
get
go.
into that. And you can see how
Sarah, what a great reference. So what Sarah's saying is start and finish. So you had a start position, you had a finish position. Just much more, much more artistic to perform than yours.
Yeah, it's called. You're having a turn.
All right, you guys, let's get to it. Remember on this, did the pelvis rotate? Yes or no? Pelvis rotate. Let's go with pelvis. Did the pelvis rotate? Did the pelvis have pelvis rotate? Yes. How did the pelvis rotate? Transverse. Left transverse. Good. Now, what rotated the pelvis? What joint motion rotated the pelvis? Right hip, horizontal abduction. From here, I'm flexed, but I did transverse plane from the pelvis's perspective. You guys, all I did was this. Just this was fixed and the socket. That's all it was. No different. No different. From here to there is the same as from here to there. Right hip, horizontal ab. Right hip, horizontal ab. It's the same thing. Just, I just isolate the right hip.
Is there a specific pelvic girdle that you'll feel less confident about?
Anterior, posterior, right, left lateral, right, left transverse. Like if you had to eliminate one from me asking questions about it, transverse, lateral, or second.
Is it too hard? Is that what you're like eliminated?
I'm just getting feedback. It's what they have most.
It's the transfer.
The transverse.
Like, with the, I didn't know that, I didn't know that was the ancestor.
Okay. What were you thinking? Were you thinking internal and external?
Yes, like specifically internal, external rotation.
Majority of our lives, that's what's gonna happen.
Mhm.
But I'm just showing you that we can also, we know this is internal and external rotation, right? So in this position, the femur is now in the socket's frontal plane.
Yeah.
Right? So it's actually a version of kind of this. Internal and external. So if this is internal and external, this can't be what this is internal and external. This is internal and external. So it's to show you that horizontal ab and horizontal ad, when the long bone is fixed and the socket is moving, would look like this. If you were going to do a stretch. So it'd be the same thing as start, finish, horizontal ab, horizontal ad. I feel that stretch on the outside. I feel that stretch on the inside. The rotation is owned by the femur. So I'd have to spin around the femur's transverse plane to have internal and external rotation.
No, I didn't do it.
Also, the socket,
And that's the hardest kind of questions we could ask.
right, the socket is where it is, femur, the ball, move about that. So if I'm moving, and you can tell in this section, has an obvious trunk rotation. Well, that ball and socket can stay where it is and have the socket move with the trunk. Does that make sense? So you're moving with the socket about the ball of the femur, which is different from internal, external, whenever my socket's staying with where it is. But I'm having this rotation with the ball of the femur.
To piggyback on Sarah, anatomical, socket, ball, anatomical. Right hip flexion, right hip horizontal abduction. Okay? Add extension. Right hip flexion, right hip horizontal abduction. So we did the same thing. Boom, boom is the same as boom, boom. I get to the exact same things. Here is the exact same as here, there. I get to the
That ball wasn't doing this. It was moving with the
Sockets.
kind of, yeah, sorry.
I figured. You're right.
Any more questions? I think we have like a minute. You all feel ready? Like more prepared now? For what to expect?
They want 30 upper extremity questions. Good job, everyone.
No,
Glad you guys.
one day I will be in the step lab from 6 to 7. So anybody that gets guys work with stuff, come ask questions, 6 to 7 Monday. Sure, I have my shake. Today. Wait, A right? She's right now. Yeah. She's not. Yeah, our doctors are not anymore. Yeah, I can be there, still, but I could be.
We can make that a tradition.